I think it's about that time for another EV bus disaster story. These are cropping up everywhere at the moment, especially with the cold weather, but it's frequently due to other problems such as mechanical failures, maintenance and local grid capacity limitations. Where have we heard all that before? One of the biggest suppliers of EV buses, Proterra, has recently filed for bankruptcy, so good luck to any of the city councils around the world that have paid millions for a fleet of their buses. In this video, we're going to take a look at a couple of stories of EV bus nightmares from either side of the pond, North Carolina in the US and Athlone in Eire. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney YouTuber. Please be sure to like, share and subscribe, hit the notification bell and drop a comment down below. EV buses just take all the problems of EV passenger cars and scales them up. The batteries have to be huge, the charging stations have to be like electricity substations, the range is terrible even in good weather, and they struggle in bad weather. This from ABC News in North Carolina. $5 million loss for Asheville as flawed electric buses sit idle. Asheville, North Carolina. The city of Asheville's purchase of 5 electric buses in 2018 has turned into a multi-million-dollar loss. The buses have been broken or unable to run because of software and/or mechanical issues, making them an expensive and disappointing purchase, according to city maintenance and transportation staff. Currently, 3 of the 5 buses are idled, with one that has had a broken double door since July. "We haven't been able to get new doors," Asheville's interim transportation director Jessica Morris said. "There's no third party that makes a door. We'd have to get custom-made doors." Each of the buses cost the city $616,000 plus. Morris said additional costs included more than $200,000 for the infrastructure for each charger, $118,000 annually for the contract to lease batteries for the buses. Leasing batteries? Why do you have to lease the batteries? And $45,000 for annual electric charges. I think if you added all that together, I think probably $900,000 to $1 million is what each one cost. And since then, we've had to invest additional money into maintaining them and fixing them, Morris said. Morris said maintenance costs have been an additional $251,000, which includes replacing the traction drive controls or electric motors for all of the buses. Maintenance Director John McDaniel said several of the buses also had to have their power inverters replaced at $14,000 each. "The last couple of years have been particularly difficult," Morris said. Yeah, understatement. "We don't see an end in sight. Proterra, the manufacturer, has since filed for bankruptcy." What a disaster, and what a terrible waste of taxpayer money for a shiny new solution to a non-problem which is far worse than before. And over in the Emerald Isle, this from the Irish Independent. "If you turn up the heat on cold days, the range reduces. TD hits out as Bus Éireann admits battery problems with electric buses pilot." By the way, TD stands for Tíochta Dála, which is a member of the Irish Parliament. Bus Éireann has admitted deficiencies in its electric bus service in Athlone, with services curtailed because their batteries ebb in cold weather. Independent TD Michael Fitzmaurice is using the new information to rail against, you see what you did there, Transport Minister Eamon Ryan and his green agenda. In response to queries from the Irish Independent, Bus Éireann said, "We are currently in a period of colder weather conditions, which will have an impact on electric vehicles, similar to passenger cars, particularly on the batteries and range. Some of the curtailments were unavoidable. However, we are now assessing how the management and performance of the buses and schedules can be optimised to minimise those impacts." Roscommon Galway TD Mr Fitzmaurice said that his information was that the buses were always freezing inside and were stopping at 8 p.m. each night instead of the scheduled 9 p.m. because the batteries lost charge in cold weather. "It is scandalous the way taxpayers' money is being wasted by Minister Ryan," he said. "For starters, I've discovered that if you turn up the heat on cold days, the bus's range is greatly reduced. My understanding is that the buses in Athlone also cannot be put on charge until midnight to avoid putting pressure on the local grid. Bus Éireann are saying 11 p.m. for the same reason and to avail of a lower tariff. From what I can gather, this last week has seen a situation in Dublin whereby generators were being used to charge EV buses. It boggles the mind to think that anyone could say this is progress. For some time now, I have recommended the use of hydrogenated vegetable oil, HVO, as an alternative to diesel and petrol that would help us achieve our targets. But Minister Ryan seems not to want anybody using HVO. even though it cuts emissions by 90%, because it isn't cutting them by 100%. Well, can we really say that these buses are cutting emissions by 100%? The stark reality is that after 12 to 18 months, the battery charging capacity on these EV buses will be reduced by about 30%. It is my understanding that a replacement battery for one of these buses could cost up to €100,000. These are all very good points. HVO is a possible drop-in emissions reduction plan using existing vehicles and infrastructure. It does have a long way to go, but synthetic fuels are something that definitely should be researched. But in the absolutism of net zero, a 90% reduction in emissions isn't enough, and only 100% will be acceptable. If this were not a mad, rushed panic to phase out fossil fuels, we might be able to work on a sensible, gradual transition, rather than the headless chicken mode we seem to be in right now. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you have any tips or stories, you can hit me up on Instagram or by email, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.